Om Jnanatimrandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chaksurmilitam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Guru Gaura Gandharva Govindangringanaisaha Vande Prasadato Yesham Savaramba Subhankara Gaura Bhag Vigraham Vande Gaurangam Gaura Vaibhavam Gaura Sankirtanamatam Gaura Korunya Sundaram Guru Rupa Harim Gauram Radha Ruchi Ruchavratam Nityam Nomi Navadipe Nama Kirtana Nartanai Srimad Prabhupadam Boja Madhupebhyo Namo Namaha Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Jata Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavangscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitang Tang Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Bhadan Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakan Vitangscha Sancharja Rama Vida Bhakta Meghe Bhakti Siddhanta Chayamritani Goabdir Etayar Amuna Vitirnais Tadyatva Ratnalayatam Prayati Ananda Lilamaya Vigrahaya Himavadivyasta Visundaraya Tasmai Mahaprema Rasapradaya Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste. So we want to say something in praise of Srila Ramananda Roy. This appearance was yesterday, and this is our opportunity to speak something. And we first think that Srila Guru Maharaj his given name was Ramendra Chandra Bhattacharya. And when he received initiation from Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he modified his name, became Ramendra Sundar, from Ramendra Chandra to Ramendra Sundar. And his mother, in that name, was Rama Raghava, Rama Raghava, Rama Raghava Rakshamam, for protection, Ram Nam. She is invoking some protection in that way for her baby, whom she used to call affectionately Ramu. But so when Saraswati Thakur changed his name to Ramendra Sundar, Guru Maharaj, that's Ram, Nam, how shall we understand? Like in Hare Rama, we say Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And Srila Saraswati Thakur said, Raman Radha, Radha Raman, that Rama, meaning Krishna. So, for some time as Ramendra Chandra, Ramendra Sundar, but Guru Maharaj has what we may describe as an ontological method by which he approaches anything and how he extracts, how he weighs, assesses value. And by his own admission, he says that he gets everything from the Ramananda Samvad, the talk of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Ramananda on the banks of the Godavari. Right? It's in Madhya Lila, volume 8, after Mahaprabhu has taken sannyas and gone to Jagannath Puri and the so-called liberation of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, who is none other than Brihaspati, the guru of the gods, being upgraded, elevated to Gaur Leela. So we know initially Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, taken by the beauty of Sri Chaitanya Deva, the 24-year-old beautiful sannyasi who he observed in his, Kahan Krishna Prananath Murli Vadan, Kahan Karun, Kahan Pan, Brajendra Nandan, madly leaving Katwa in search for Sri Krishna, reality the beautiful. We told the other day, Srinivasacharya says, identifying this mood of the Goswamis, were not Gopi Bhav. And a supreme Gopi, what is the Bhav of the supreme Gopi? Radha Bhav. Gopi Bhav, Radha Bhav. Guru is saying, Gopi Bhajan. That is what we're interested in, exclusively, to the elimination of all other things. We have no interest in anything else. It's a distraction. What do they do? That's what we want. That's all we need to know. That's all we want to know. I said, well, someone else, we don't care for it. Only their way. Right? And you think, well, why are you so upset? Vishwanath Chakrabarti has, I don't know if he said it the same way, probably not, in a sweeter way. What he said, Aradhya Bhagavan Brajesha Tvanayas Tadama Vrindavanam Ramya Kachid Vargena Brajabadu Vargena Jakalpitai. He's saying there is no superior method of worship than that, and growing, Kalpitai means imagined, invented by the Brajagopis. That's what he says. Aradhya Bhagavan, the way they do this, that's the supreme type of worship. Gopi Bhajan, Gopi Bhav, where we hear Gopi Bhava Rasamrita Dilahari Kalola Magno Mahur, and more than once. So, Ram Yakachid, there's one more. Bargena, Brajavadu, Gopavadva. Even Bhishma, Bhishma, when he's lying dying, on the so-called bed of arrows, what's given in the Bhagavatam? He's saying, the very last thing he says, let my mind be fixed upon that Krishna whom Lalita, Valguhasha, he's saying that, who's attracting the Gopavadva, Gopavadu, the Gopi brides. They're compared sometimes like that, because the bride always has a special bhav, you could say. That's what the great warrior, as he's lying he's saying, let me think of that Krishna who's so attractive to the Braja Gopis. So, that he saw this, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, the Asta Sattvika Vikar, 8 different types of ecstatic emotions to an infinite degree simultaneously, inducing a near death-like state, transferred to his place, and then thinking he could use a healthy dose of Vedanta and perhaps a sannyas upgrade. In the end, That is Mahaprabhu who's upgrading Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. And what is he revealed to him? Is described as his Ishwar Murti. And that is significant because Ishwar in this context means God. In other words, he's revealing his divinity to him, whom Sarvabhauma mistook to be, there's some almost mild humor in there because it's saying like, he took him to be a great devotee. Well, Radha Bhava Duti Subalita, enveloped in the heart and halo of Radharani, not only a great devotee, the greatest devotee. So he was not wrong in that sense, but he failed to recognize his divinity. That who was showing this inside, Anta Krishna Bahir Goram Darshitang Garivaivavam. So, Shadbhuj, his showing. Two arms. Who was Ramachandra? Another two. Who was Krishna? Now he's appeared as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That's one way of saying. So is Ishwar Murti revealed his divinity to him. Then we know Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he's writing so many prayers, 100 prayers in praise of Mahaprabhu, the Vairagya Vidya Nija Bhakti Yoga, and other things. And yeah. And it's a great promotion for Mahaprabhu's camp to say, the Pandit of the king of Puri, Prataparudra Maharaj, he's converted into a devotee of Mahaprabhu. So this is very good for their propaganda. And he wrote 100 slokas, in praise of Mahaprabhu. Now he's like Xing the word mukti from Bhagavad slokas and putting bhakti and then he's realizing his past behavior and assessment of things and persons, and he realized, I used to mock Ramananda like he's a Vaishnava, he's a devotee. You see, now I realize what a great devotee he is. So when Mahaprabhu is leaving Puri and going to tour South India, and we know wherever he meets, if he meets the Madhva school Tattvavadi, he defeats them and demonstrates the superiority of his Krishna conception. He meets the Buddhists, he defeats them. Everywhere he goes, he meets with the leaders of these different sampradayas and different theistic conceptions and converts them to the superiority of his Krishna conception. That's why later when he returns, he will say to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, I met many, but I didn't find anyone like you. And Guru Maharaj, with the exception of Ramananda, who Sarvabhauma said, him you must see. But Guru Maharaj said, indirectly, Mahaprabhu is endorsing himself, because he said, I didn't find a Vaishnava like you. Yeah, you created him. Your creation, nothing could compare to that. But Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, as Leela would have it, he tells Mahaprabhu, you must visit with Ramananda Roy. And so sometimes Guru Maharaj would say, we take it from a particular type of analysis. The Ishwara Puri, he got the Diksha from him, Mantra Diksha Guru, and of course Advaita and Keshava Bharati, Sannyas. Achyutananda, Advaita Acharya's son, will not like to hear that or have that promoted in the world, but we're saying for the sake of some particular type of thought. And then Guru Maharaj will say, and Ramananda says, Ragamarg Diksha Guru. Ragamarg Diksha is not extant. There in this plane, no one qualified on either the giving or receiving end. So Mahaprabhu going to Godavari to meet Ramananda, and Ramananda is like governor, occupationally really, and considered Shudra. That's how he introduces himself. But he comes surrounded by so many Brahmins. And we're told, and there's some musicality going on and everything. And so when he sees Mahaprabhu looks like 100 sons in the dress of a sannyasi. That's how effulgent Mahaprabhu is for those who have the eyes to see. Like not the son, 100 sons sitting on the banks of the Godavari. And if you understand Mahaprabhu, Sri Krishna Chaitanya Radha Krishna Nahi Anya, and Ramananda as Vishaka Saki of Lalita Vishaka fame. So how happy and eager Vishaka is to see Krishna enveloped in the heart and halo of Radharani, and how Krishna to her, like, look at me now. You can hardly recognize me. So when they meet, they embrace, and they're ecstatic, and all those Brahmins accompanying Ramananda Roy, they're astonished to see this. They're thinking, this sannyasi, because they think Ramananda is even lower than them. They think this sannyasi, really, you shouldn't even have anything to do with a person like this, but embracing and experiencing some kind of ecstasy on both sides. They're thinking, what's going on here? So, Kaviraj Goswami saying, really, they're trying to maintain their composure, Mahaprabhu and Ramananda, in one another's presence, and to deal with some pleasantries and courtesy, but Mahaprabhu decrying his own position, Ramananda saying, I am such a fallen person, and my mind is so polluted. If you could, just by seeing you, I'm becoming purified, but my mind is so wicked. If you could just stay for like 5 or 7 days, that would be helpful. And so they don't want to meet with this group, but so they meet, and then a little later return, where just Mahaprabhu and Ramananda. And so this verse that begins this chapter by Kaviraj Goswami saying, Sancharja Ramabhida Bhakta Meghe. Sancharja means empowering. The Bhakta Meghe means the devotee cloud, the cloud of devotion known as Ramananda. I was saying, Mahaprabhu is empowering him. And why cloud? And then it says, Swabhakti Siddhanta Chayamritani. So he's like a cloud that's risen from the ocean, Gaurabdi, of Gauranga Mahaprabhu. And, Gaurabdi Etayar Amuna Vitirnais Tad Yatva Ratna Alayatam Prayati. So he's saying so that this cloud is risen from the ocean of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and is like raining gems. So many gems are coming. Just like there could be rain, but what if the rain were gems? And then we will see there in their talk. So Mahaprabhu, and this is very interesting, that, remember, Mahaprabhu is the sannyasi. Ramananda is in the role, Grihastha Shudra. Right? Normally, the sannyasi should be instructing the Grihastha Shudra. But here, Mahaprabhu will be inquiring and Ramananda will be giving the instructions. And it's mentioned by Kaviraj Goswami, see the pastimes of Mahaprabhu. As we were mentioning the other day, the hopeful aspect of the pastime of Prahlad Maharaj with Nrsingadev. Prahlad appears in not just a family of demons, but like the most demonic person imaginable is his father. So he said, the Doitya Kul means family of demons. So then we go, then we have some hope. Who's the Namacharya in the pastimes of Mahaprabhu? The Muslim Haridas Thakur. Rup and Sanatan, they're cancelled because they're kayastas, it's a technicality, so they're not proper Brahmins, neither is Raghunath Das, the Prayojan Tattva, the Rupaniga line. Right? Gopal Bhatta is a Paka South Indian Brahmin, and necessarily so, and that's used in particular ways. But all the others are socially disqualified. So now Mahaprabhu hearing from Ramananda, and he says, but I'm not really the qualified person to talk about these things. And Mahaprabhu's position is Kiba Vipra, Kiba Nyasi, Shudra Kene Noi, Jai Krishna Tattva Veta Se Guru Hoy. If someone knows Krishna Tattva, the truths about Krishna, the Krishna truth, right? Like Bhakti Siddhanta, etc. Say Guru Hoy. Then, so whether they are Vipra, Nashi, Shudra, that's irrelevant. Our concern is the substance, like Guru Maharaj thematically. Substance over form. Right? So, so Mahaprabhu says to him at the beginning of the discussion, so what is the ultimate goal and how to achieve it? And Ramananda begins by saying, Varna asrama charavata purushena parakpuman Vishnu aradyate pungsang nanya tatto shakaranam. Varnashram Dharma. We should practice Varnashram Dharma. And for the Nanya Tat Toshikar, and try to, with our Varnashramic activities, try to satisfy the Supreme Lord. And Mahaprabhu goes, Iho Bahya Age Kaho. That is external. So right away we can understand this is a very different conversation, because these are things that are normally acceptable in certain contexts. And Mahaprabhu is like, that is external. And who is Mahaprabhu? Krishna. So if you say, well, what about all these other statements? Vedaischa sarvara hangeva vedyo. I am what is to be known by all of it. If you're coming to some other conclusion, you're being misled or you're misinterpreting, because I am what is to be understood by all these things. And now I'm sitting before you and I'm telling you, what about that? That it's external. Right? He didn't say it has no value under it. No, he just said it's external. And by the way, it's the Kali Yuga and we're running out of time. So these things that take lifetimes, that's not going to be helpful. Right? Then, what say you, Ramananda? He's like, Krishna, offer everything to Krishna? Yad karoshi, Krishna samarpanam. Yad karoshi, yadasnashi, yad jahosi dadasiyat. Tat kurusvamanarpanam. So, and Mahaprabhu says, that is external. Go further. Iho bhaya age kaho. Then give up everything for Krishna. Tag this karma. Don't have anything to do with it. Sarva dharmam parityajya mam ekam sharanam braja. That is external. Why? In this because still you're dealing with all these things. Krishna has no interest in that may be good for you to give those things up, but what is implied? You have some attachment to these things. And now you're being told, give them up. Right? So you're still on the wrong side of this equation. So then he said, all right, Brahma Bhuta Prasanatma Nasochati Nakasya. Don't have anything to do with the objective world, like about giving up things. Just be purely in the conscious domain, like Jnana Misra Bhakti. And Mad Bhaktim Labate Param, as Guru Maharaj would say, yes, but that means you're at the threshold, because Mad Bhaktim Labate Param means one in such a position can now enter. So where are you if you're about to enter somewhere? It means you're not in there, you're on the threshold, you're on the outside. Eho bahya age kaho. That's external. And you can see why Guru Maharaj likes this so much, because it's the gradation that is there. Like we say, his expression, dive deep into reality, that's what's going on here. It's not that these other things are not real, but he wants, age kohuar, which means go further. Guru Maharaj says, dive deep. So then he's saying, all right, we had Jnana Shunya Bhakti, no tinge of Jnana. And he quotes the Brahma Stuti sloka, Jnane prayasamurapasana manteva. Jivanti sanmukaritam bhavadiya bhartam stane stita shrutikatam tanuban manobir. Ye prayaso jita jito piyasi taistrilokyam. Saying, give up trying to know him. Hear, sat mukarita means hear from a genuine devotee of Krishna. Whatever your stane stita shrutigatam, whatever your position is. Like people think, does that include like the modern world? Yes. Stane stita says whatever your position is. So it includes the modern world. Begin hearing from a proper agent. Right? Guru Maharaj will say, this is your first real true connection with reality. Right? Like Pravishta Karna Randrena Swanam Bhavam Saroruham Dunoti Shamalam Krishna Shalayashi Yatasharat. Krishna Karnamritam. Krishna nectar for the ear, goes to the ear and touches the heart. Yadanucharita Lila Karna Piyusha Biprut. And a drop of that Krishna nectar is sufficient. Must be from a proper agent. And then, interestingly, then with this verse, Mahaprabhu says, Iho hoy, that I accept. Like, now you're talking. Iho hoy, age ho, now go deeper. So that's the first thing that Mahaprabhu accepts as being real and substantial, is connection with his devotee agent. Right. So then he starts going deeper. And what type of devotion? Dasya, Sakya, Vatsalya, Madhura. And so you see, it's very rapidly actually going in a particular direction. And let me say that now what we mentioned in the beginning, Gopi Bhav. What type of devotion do they have? And what is the type of devotion of the Supreme Gopi? Right. So, and at one point in this discussion, it's mentioned that the source of Krishna Prem is Srimati Radharani, only her. She's the ultimate source of all love and affection toward Krishna. And say, well, what about the others? So we cannot, Nanda, Yashoda, Subal, etc. Yes, Kumar said, clients of Madhura Rasa, satellites of Madhura Rasa. So Srila Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur says in parsing the first sloka of the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is also mentioned in this Ramananda Samad, Janmad yasya yataha yoton vayad itaratascha artesya abhigyasvarat, etc. Janmad, yes, like Vedanta says, Janmad yasya yataha. And we're told, the Nigama Kalpaturur Galitam Palam, Shukamukharam Rita Davashamyatam, Pebata Bhagavatam Rasamalayam, Mahuraho Rasika Bhuvi Bhavukaha. What is this Bhagavatam? What is the third sloka is the Prayojan Tattva sloka. It's saying it's the Kalpatur, the tree of Veda, it's the fully ripe and mature fruit of that tree. What is that fruit? Madhura Rasa. That's what the juice from that fruit is Madhura Rasa. That's what it's saying in the third verse. Right, so Vedanta, Janmad Yasyata, Vedanta is the floral essence of the Veda Kalpaturu. And the Bhagavatam is the fruit. So whereas Vedanta said, Janmad Yasyataha, only that aphorism. The Bhagavatam begins, it says, Janmad yasya yaton vayad. It starts, you see, floral essence, now the juice being drawn, and what does he say it means? Janmadi. Adi, here, Vishwanath says, means Adi Rasa, Madhura Rasa, Mukhya Rasa, the principal rasa from which everything is coming. What we talked of the Gadadhar Slok, the pranam the other day about Guru Maharaj's collection, then one for Vedavyas, but one for Radharani. And what does that one say? Yadamiya Mahima Sri Bhagavatyam Katayam Pratipatam Anubhutam Apya Labdavideya Tadakila Rasamurti Shamalila Avalambam Madhura Rasadi Sri Radha Pada Padmam Prapadye. Oh. Saying, although ostensibly her name is not mentioned, every sloka, every step of the way is meant us to take us in one direction, the service of her holy lotus feet, Radha Dasyam. Right. So, and Gurudev talking about the Tunga Mani Mandire sloka, saying, saying that the heart of Srimati Radharani is like a lighthouse of Krishna Prem. We're saying her faith is her halo. She's illuminating the whole spiritual world. What does that mean? The whole spiritual world, the Seva Mayoyam Loka, it's all about seva, service. So faith is the illumination. That is her halo. She is revealing Krishna. Right? She reveals Krishna. And all love and affection toward Krishna is emanating from her and appearing through so many who are fortunate. Ananda Chenmaya Rasa Pratibhavi Tabis Tabirya Eva Nijarupataya Kalabi Goloka Eva Nivisat Akilatma Bhuto Govinda Mari Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. The Brajagopi, they're all come from her. Just see how expansive is her service. The Dwarka queens, the Mahishan, come from Radharani. The Lakshmis of Vaikunta come from Radharani. The Brajagopis, they all come from Radharani. So, Mahaprabhu liked hearing this. I mean, he's saying, Ramananda, tell me more, tell me some more. Keep going. And Ramananda, he's saying, like the first slogan, he's saying, the cloud that rose from the ocean, Bhakta Meghe of the Gaurabdi, Swabhakti Siddhanta Chayamritani, he's saying, actually, I'm a puppet and you're manipulating me. And my tongue is like a stringed instrument that you're playing. You're making me say all these things. And Mahaprabhu, at different times, he's telling, and we'll hear later, telling Pradyumna, I don't know Krishna Katha. I heard all these things from Ramananda. And Ramananda said, but you made me say them all. Be that as it may. It's not that an empty vessel was taken, a man from the street, and made to say all these things. It had to be someone whose heart resonated with this divine expressions. So, when Ramananda wants to distinguish the position of Srimati Radharani, how unique she is and her magnitude. He quotes the Gita Govinda of Jayadev to say that Radhamadaya Hridaya Tatyaja Braja Sundari, that sometimes, like Guru Maharaj said in the Sriman Rasa Rasarungi Bangshi Bhatta Tatastita Karsan Venu Sunai Gopi Gopi Natha Sri Suna, many groups of gopis coming together. How many? Billions, if not trillions, of uniquely qualified, inconceivably beautiful, swarups based upon serving, constructed of serving tendency, that in the presence of so many, that Srimati Radharani, feeling that she's being treated equally, was upset and demonstrated like Gandharvika, superior singing and dancing, and then left the Rasa Leela. And Krishna, feeling that the experience has gone down, that is the mathematics divine, to show that 1 trillion minus 1, we would think ordinarily, well, I mean, that's more or less still 1 trillion, isn't it? Not here. 1 trillion minus 1, Krishna's lost interest in the trillion That's the shorthand method for telling us the magnitude of her qualities, qualifications, beauty, charm, devotion, heart, everything. That this one counsels, counsels a trillion of incomparably qualified others. Right? So we think, well, that's just unimaginable. Well, what should we expect from the better half of the sweet absolute? Right? Who can exert this kind of influence upon Krishna? Aparam kasyapi pranayi janabrinda sukutuki rasotstamam hritva madhuram upabhoktam kamapiya. So much so that Krishna, he's wondering, what is it like to be her? I'm omniscient and I can't understand it. Theoretically, I have an idea. Krishna's saying, theoretically, I can understand something about her. But I want to, not as Govinda, Adi Purush, enjoyer, he cannot. Because that's antithetical to the position of a devotee. Devotee is not enjoyer. Krishna is not just an enjoyer, supreme enjoyer, everything, 1 trillion gopis level enjoyer. He can only understand theoretically. He's saying, but my impression is that what she's experiencing is 10 million times greater than what I'm experiencing. That is my estimation as omniscient. So kutuki means that arouse the curiosity and Krishna to experience her presence. And what is he doing here as Mahaprabhu? There he is, Radha Baba Duty Subali, enveloped in the heart and halo of Radharani, listening to, in essence, Vishaka Saki talk about the glories of Radharani. And Krishna, but mainly Radharani. Like Guru Maharaj mentioned something that Krishna Karnamritam, which Mahaprabhu likes to hear. I mean, we have to say that, and Guru Maharaj beautifully in his Prema Dhamma Stotram, remember, at the end of the Prema Dhamma Stotram, he indicates that his name is Ramananda Das, because Saraswati Thakur changed his name again from Ramendra Sundar to Ramananda, because this is his specialty. And Ban Maharaj told that Guru Maharaj gave this lecture at Godavari. When he was there, he said, it was the greatest lecture he'd ever heard. Which was quite a compliment. So, Sri Swarupa Roya Sangha Gambirantya Lilana in the Gangbir. Who's there? Sri Swarupa Roya Sangha, and the association of Swarup Damodar and Ramananda, no others, in the Gambir. That's Mahaprabhu's room where he spent the last 12 years of his manifest pastimes, 24/7 with the two of them. When they say Dwadashabda, that's 12 years. Dwadashabda, Banhi Garba, Bipra Lila. So anyway, Gurudev translates Banhi Garba as the firebed of separation. Gambirantya Lilanam. Radhikadi Rudha Baba Kanta Krishna Kunjaram. Yeah, Radhikadi Rudhibhav. So this highest state of Radharani is described as Mahabhav Chintamani, Radhara Swarup. Right? So that in that way, Ramananda quotes the Gita Govinda to establish the unparalleled magnitude of the Krishna Prem of Srimati Radharani. It's the happiness of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He's very happy to hear that. And then, but remember, he keeps saying, go deeper. So he's saying to Ramananda, this is wonderful. I can't imagine anything more wonderful than what you're describing to me. But is there? And I thought, Ramananda, he's a little hesitating, because as Guru Maharaj says elsewhere, the tacit understanding is that for everything he says, there's some Shastric reference, and we see that so far. Started with the quotes, Varnashram, to the Gita quotes, to then the Brahma Stuti, then other prayers from the Srimad Bhagavatam and such scriptures, even the Veda Stutis, how the Upanishads got to participate in the Rasa Leela, but not Lakshmi Devi. Kasyana Bhavosya Jadeva Vidmehi Tabangri Renur Sparisharadikara Yadvanchana Sri Lalanacharatapo Vihaya Kaman Suchiram Dridamrita. The wives of Kaliyam. Then they said, Lakshmi Devi did austerities in the Tapovan for lifetimes and couldn't get what our husbands got. He can't remove the lotus feet of Krishna from his heads. So many things on the way. Then to Jayadev, Gita Govinda. Oh, I was going to say, so that Krishna Karnamritam, in that Gangbhir, one of the works they're hearing, Krishna Karnamritam, Gita Govinda, Chandidas, Vidyapati, Jagannath Ballabha Natak, of whom? Ramananda Roy. That Krishna Karnamritam, there are shatakas, 100, maybe 3 at the most, all in praise of Krishna. What does Tunga Vidya, Prabodhananda Saraswati Thakur write? The Radha Rasa Shuddhanidhi, like 270, almost 300 slokas in praise of Radharani. Then we can understand who is Prabodhananda Tunga Vidya, hardcore Astasaki promoter of Radharani, exclusive. That is our line. That's what I'm trying to do. Any way you look, they're fanatics for Radharani. So, but Mahaprabhu saying to Ramananda, anything more than this? And well, for everything I say, I'm supposed to give some Shastric reference, but there's something that comes to my mind and heart at different times, but there's no Shastra for this. But I wrote some poetry, if you want to hear that. And well, yes, and when he starts speaking, Mahaprabhu puts his hand over Ramananda's mouth. Don't say that. But he describes something we can't say. Gurudev could sing it. But let's say this, as Guru Maharaj says, some hint is there about Mahaprabhu. Because and Guru Maharaj will say this, thematically it's about union and separation. But sometimes there's also separation and union, where they're so melted, lost in one another, that they feel that they're lost in feeling separation. So there's union and separation and union. But Mahaprabhu stops, don't say any more about this. Because whom personifies what he is singing is sitting before him. And Mahaprabhu always trying to conceal. Remember, he's the Channa Kalo, to keep his position hidden. do his public service, Nam Sankirtan, but those private matters, Sri Swarupa Raya Sangha Gambiranti Lilanam. That's what you can say. Ramananda, he's the qualified person to go in the Gangbir with Mahaprabhu and Swarup Damodar. And at one point, toward the end, Ramananda said that, remember, Mahaprabhu was asking all the questions, Ramananda giving all the, and then finally Ramananda said, there's one thing that perplexes me. Can I ask you a question? Mahaprabhu, yes, you can. And he's saying that when at the beginning of our talk, you were in the dress of a sannyasi. Remember the 100 sons dressed in saffron, but now I don't see that sannyasi. But I'm seeing Shyama Sundar Krishna with almost like a puppet doll, and he's covered by the golden girl. And first, before saying the part about the girl, saying, I'm seeing Shyama Sundar Krishna, Mahaprabhu is saying, oh, we have heard about the Mahabhagavata devotees like yourself. Wherever they cast their glance, they see Krishna. How fortunate we are to be in your association. So you see Krishna everywhere and everything. He quotes the Bhagavatam, Sarvam Pakshe, etc. Bhagavad Uttama. The Uttama Bhagavat always sees Krishna. So when you look at me, you're also seeing Krishna. And Ramananda's like, don't tease me like that. Not only am I seeing Shyama Sundar Krishna, but he's covered by this golden girl. What is this? And Mahaprabhu was saying, Rasaraj Mahabab Duyak Roop. I can't conceal myself from your loving eye. Prema Janachuri Bhakti Velochanena Santak Sadeva Hridayi Shivalokayanti Yang Shyama Sundaram Achentraguna Srupam Govindam. No, yeah. Govindam Adi Purusham Tamahamaja. It's saying, so I can't conceal the type of prema you have. I can't conceal who I am. Who am I? Rasaraj Krishna, Mahabhav Swarupini, Radha Thakurani, combined as one. And Guru Maharaj said, see how they mingle. And Ramananda fainted. And then Mahaprabhu grabbed him by the hand. And then Ramananda came back to consciousness and saw a sannyasi sitting there. But, so what did we say in the beginning? Ishwar Murti is revealed to Sarvabhauma. He revealed his divinity to him. Mahaprabhu was not revealing his divinity to Ramananda. That's a given. He cannot conceal that he is Radha and Krishna combined to Ramananda. And he's saying, and only, no one has ever seen this before except you. And this is the worship, the Ishta Devata, the worshipable deities of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. That's why you see, there's Mahaprabhu, and then Krishna, Radharani. That's that vision of what Mahaprabhu is revealing to Ramananda. That's the worship of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And as you see in Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat, so Parikar Sri Sri Guru Gauranga Gandharva Govinda Sundar Jiu. So then Mahaprabhu was saying, so you have to retire and come and join me in Puri. So by the time I get back there, you come. And we know he will join him there. And later, so that's in the Madhya Lila of Charitamritam. And just to conclude, in the Antya Lila, there is this Brahmin devotee, Pradyumna Misra. He comes to Mahaprabhu and says, I would like to hear Krishna Katha from you. And Mahaprabhu saying, and all these things we discussed earlier, right? There's a connecting thread. So the Bhagavatam sloka is there. Dharmashta Svanushtatak Pungsam Vishvaksenu Katasuya Notpadiyat Yadiratim Srama Eva Hikevalam. He's saying, you are so fortunate that you've developed a taste for hearing about Krishna. He's saying, that's what you need to do in life. That dharmak stitak pungsam vishvaksenu kata, what this verse is saying. Here's the criterion for whatever it is you're doing, whether or not it's valuable or not. If the end result is attract Vasudeva Kata Ruchi, or Vishvaksenu Katasiya, attraction for Krishna Katha, Gaur Katha, Hari Katha, then you're going in the right direction. If whatever you're doing, that's not the end result, it says, Srama Eva Hi Kevalam. What you're doing is a useless waste of time. That's the verse that Mahaprabhu is telling him. Right? So, but then he says, but Krishna Katha, Ami Janina, I don't know any Krishna Katha myself. But I heard Krishna Katha from Ramananda. So I can recommend, you're so fortunate that you have developed an attraction, I recommend that you go hear from him. So Pradyumna Misra goes there, and we're told Ramananda, he has this Jagannath Ballava Natak that Mahaprabhu is reading behind closed doors later with Ramananda and Swarup Damodar. But there, it's a play. And so there are some girls, servitors of Jagannath. They're dancers called Dev Dasis. And he's training them. Because when they're going to make these ecstatic expressions, they need to make particular gestures and facial expressions and for it to be perfect. So Ramananda, Vishaka Saki knows all of this perfectly. So training these two girls, and we're told they're very beautiful and they're very young. And so when Pradyumna Misra comes to hear Krishna Katha from him, he finds out from his assistant that he's busy right now. And when he inquired, what is he busy doing? He's saying, he's training these Devdasis, these, dancing girls, right? And then it comes to know that also part of they're dancers. So also, they need to be massaged, to be kept in condition, everything. Ramananda, does that seva for them, of massaging them. Right? So Pradyumna Misra was hearing all these things, like, okay. And the time goes by, and then Ramananda comes and said, I had some other engagement, I'm sorry, excuse my aparad, I didn't attend you when you came, how can I serve you? And Pradyumna Misra said, I just came to get your darshan, and now that I'm being seen by you, everything is perfect. So, and he leaves, then goes to visit Mahaprabhu the next day. And Mahaprabhu is saying, so did you hear Krishna Katha from Ramananda? And Pradyumna Misra says, I did go there, and I got his darshan. And Mahaprabhu can understand his apprehension, and Mahaprabhu tells him, he said, as a sannyasi, he said, if I hear the name of a woman, I may undergo some transformation. What to speak of seeing one or the form. Right? Because you say, what do you mean just hearing the name? Because In another place it says, like, female names shall end in long vowels and be pleasing to the ear, for example. And he's saying, if I see the wooden form, a statue of a woman, it can disturb my mind. And then he said, Ramananda is not like, there's Ek Ramananda, there's only one. And he has an aprakrita deho, meaning it looks like he's a human being, man, but he's not. Okay. His Vishaka Saki doesn't say that, but I'm telling you that now. It's Vishaka Saki dressed in a male garment. Okay. So he's saying, like, he's more qualified than me. Mahaprabhu, Krishna himself, Radha, that Mahaprabhu was saying, he's the qualified person. You go in here and mention my name and that I sent you to hear Krishna Katha from him. And don't have any other thought in your mind. There's no male gaze, there's no exploiting, trace of exploiting tendency within Ramananda. Just beyond Siddha Deho, right? Aprakrita Deho. So, with this certification recommendation from Mahaprabhu, Pradyumna Misa returns, and then meets with Ramananda, and Ramananda is saying, like, what sort of Krishna Katha would you like to hear? And he's saying, what you told Mahaprabhu on the banks of the Godavari. Then Ramananda begins madly talking about Krishna, hour after hour after hour, until they're so lost to the world. The day finishes, and Ramananda's assistant comes, he goes like, and Pradyumna Misa is totally satisfied and returns, and then Mahaprabhu, did you hear Krishna Katha from Ramananda? Yes, I heard, and now, I'm so happy and satisfied. Mahaprabhu is very happy as well, and then Pradyumna Misa says, but there's one other thing that Ramananda told me besides all the Krishna Katha. Mahaprabhu, what was that? And he said, that he's like a puppet and you're manipulating him, and his tongue is like a stringed instrument and you're the player. It's you who are causing him to say all these things. Hare Krishna. Hari Haraya Nama Krishna Yadavaya Namaha. Hari Haraya Nama Krishna Yadavaya Namaha. Yadavaya Madhavaya Kesavaya Namaha. Gopal Govinda Ram Sri Madhusudan. Giridhari Gopinath Madana Mohan. Shri Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Chandra. Radhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jai Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath. Sri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Raghunath. Jai Go Jai Gori Charana Bandhan. Jaha Hoite Vignanas Abhishta Puran. Jai Go Jai Jar Mui Tarodas. Dasavada Padarenu Mora Panchagras Dandara Charana Sevi Bhakta Sanevas Janome More Avilas Echai Goshai Jabe Braje Koilovas Radha Krishna Nitya Lila Korilo Prakash Anande Bolo Hari Bhaja Vrindavan Shri Guru Vaishnava Pade Majai Aman Shri Guru Vaishnava Pad Padma Koriyas Harinam Sankirtan Kohe Narotamadas Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare 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 Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Nitai Gaur Hari Bo, Gaur Hari Bo Nitai Gaur Hari Bo, Gaur Hari Bo Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paribrajaka Satara Sati Shri Srimad Srila Bhakti Sudhir Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Rakak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Bhagavan Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai Jai Saparikar Sri Guru Gauranga Gandharva Govinda Sundar Ju Ki Jai Shri Giriraj Govardhan Ki Jai Shri Rup Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jiva Gopal Bhatta Das Raghunath Sad Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai Shri Swarup Ramananda Ki Jai Shri Rupanuga Guru Varga Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Go Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai, Navadip Dham Ki Jai, Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat Ki Jai, Sri Gupta Govardhan Ki Jai, Ganga Devi, Jamuna Devi, Bhakti Devi, Tulsi Devi Ki Jai, Om Vishnupad Vishvavarena, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai, Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Madhacharya Vrinda Ki Jai, Jai Srila Bhakti Vinod Maharaj Ki Jai, Jai Sri Bhakti Lalita Devi Dasi Ki Jai, Seva Vrinda Ki Jai, Samaveda Bhakti Vrinda Ki Jai, Nitai Go Premanande. Hare Krishna.
From Sripad Bhakti Vigraha Nyasi Maharaj.
Jai Sripad Bhakti Vigraha Nyasi Maharaj Ki
Jai. Suchitra Didi, Lila Sundar Prabhu Kiev, Nimai Priya Didi, Kiev, Danjai Prabhu Russia, Duty Krishna Didi Australia, Sevarupa Didi Mexico, Bhakta Bandhu Prabhu Philippines, Ashapurna Didi, Sahadevi Didi, Kalyani Didi USA, Rotin Prabhu Moscow, Madhava Priya Didi, Praneshwar Didi Florida, Braja Bihari Prabhu London, Tapana Nandini Didi, Dhananjay Prabhu and Chaitanya Mai Rome, Italy. Dandavats dear Gurudev, Dandavats all devotees. From Rasananda Prabhu Sochi, Dandavats Maharaj from Sochi, thank you for your support. You inspire me very much. I hug you. And Ajita Prabhu, Ajita Krishna Prabhu, Russia, Dandavats to Srila Goswami Maharaj and all sweet devotees and all residents Gupta Gordhan.
Hare Krishna. Aye. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Jai Rupa Vilas Prabhu in the Philippines. Jai Srila Bhakti Sudhir Goswami Maharaj in Ukraine. Dandavat. Lalita Priya Didi. Dandavat. Sankalpa in Shanghai. Dandavat. Hare Krishna. Pandita Dasi Dandavat. Yadunandini Didi in Hungary. Dandavat. Maheshri and Janvi. Dandavat. They're in New Delhi. Chaitanya Nitai Prabhu in Vrindavan. Dandavat. Malini Didi in Orsk. Dandavat. Nityananda Das here. Rasananda Prabhu in Sochi. Dandavat. Nityananda Ram Prabhu in Colombia. Dandavat. Sri Hari Das in Brazil. Dandavat. Sushmita Didi in China. Dandavat. Rajabala Didi. Dandavat. Jai Srila Bhakti Ranjan Madhusudan Maharaj Ki Jai. Vila Govinda at Srila Gurudev's Pushpa Samadhi. Hare Krishna. Aviram Prabhu. Dandavat. Ananta Shesh Prabhu in Spain. Dandavat. Somya Sham Prabhu in Orsk. Dandavat. Anantik. Dandavat. I like that name. Ananta name. And Nimai Priya Didi Dandavat. Sri Hari again. Dandavat. Sulakshana is here. Ajita Krishna Prabhu. Dandavat. Rajabha. All right. That's it, I believe. Seva Rupa Didi Dandavat. Everyone? Yes?
Bhakta Bandhu.
Bhakta Bandhu, Prabhu Dandavat, Lakshmi Priya, Damodar Das. All right. Paramananda Prabhu, the Govinda Farm, Shamala Didi, Dandavat. Gaur Chandra Prabhu, Dandavat. Satyabhama Didi in Morelia. Oh, that's in Mexico. Dandavat. Indamukhi, Brajalatika, Dandavat. Hare Krishna. Vanchakalpatrubhyascha kripa sindhu bevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Hare Krishna.